After going through some of the arithmetic circuits uh, using logic gates, we would now dive into some circuits which are also treated as basic components, some fundamental components of combinational circuits. So, this is itself a circuit. So, this is built using logic gates, but using that idea of constructing a bigger circuit using smaller known blocks of circuits. So, that idea is very well implemented using these decoders what we are going to study today, and also there is another thing which is called the multiplexer, often referred to as mux, which we will take up in the next lecture. So, these two are very important. So, please mark my words and try to understand first of all what exactly this is, and when you understand what exactly decoders and mux are, then you will appreciate how we will be able to utilize them in formation or in the implementation of any combinational circuit. Any combinational circuit you will be able to implement using decoders and muxes. That is why it is very important, and the point to note is that to do that implementation you will not need to go through the minimization route. So, that minimization of the expressions for which we needed to do Carnot map and or McCluskey method, whatever minimization method we were using, that additional step which takes time also, you will not be required to go through that step if you are asked to implement a particular problem or a particular uh, Boolean expression using the decoder or and the muxes. So, you can directly implement actually using decoders and muxes. So, let us see how this is very useful. So, let us see. So, first we have to understand the decoder. So, first we take the decoder in this lecture. What is the decoder? So, let us understand what is the binary decoder. So, the binary decoder will basically have n number of inputs which are like the n bits of a binary word. These n inputs these n inputs are like the n bits of a binary word. How many such binary words are possible for a n input binary word? You can have numbers from 0 to 2 to the power of n minus 1 normal binary. That means in total you are having 2 to the power of n such numbers possible, and these are the decimal equivalent, right? 2 to the power of n such decimal equivalent numbers, and you see we have 2 to the power of n outputs in the binary decoder. So, whenever a decoder is having n number of inputs, it will have 2 to the power of n number of outputs. So, the next feature is that only one of these outputs is going to be active at a time. Only one of these outputs is going to be active at a time, not more than one. Which one is going to be active? That one is going to be active which is the decimal equivalent of the input binary word. So, you see the output pin number, note this line, the output pin number which is active is the decimal equivalent of the input binary code or input binary word. So, it means that let us take the example of a 3 cross 8 binary decoder. We write the decoders as their number of inputs and outputs. 3 inputs will definitely have 8 outputs. 3 cross 8 binary decoder, for that your word length is 3. So, if your input is 0 1 1, the decimal equivalent is 3. So the pin number 3 is active. See, note that this is pin number 3 and pin numbers are starting from 0, 1, 2, 3. So this is basically the fourth output, but we refer it to as the output 3. We refer this one as the output 0. Okay. So as the numbers go, number of the pins go, we refer in that manner only. So the outputs are from 0 to 7. So there are 8 outputs, but from 0 to 7. So when 101 is the input, then 101 means 5. So output 5 is active. Output 5 is active. Okay. So similarly, consider 4 cross what? 4 cross 16. 4 cross 16 decoder. Then if my input binary code is 1011, which output will be active? 1011 is 11. So output number 11 will be active. If I have 1101, which output will be active? This is 13. Output 13 will be active. When I have 0000, output 0 will be active. 0101, output 5 will be active. Okay, so in this manner it will go. So now I have used actually a very important term which is active. I am using the term active. I am introducing it for the first time in our entire lecture series from where we started. So till now we were using that terminology was like this, that the output or the input is high or low. It is high, it is low. But now I am suddenly using the word active. So what does active mean? Active can be either high or low, and there are two different actives actually. One is active high and another is active low. So this particular truth table that you are seeing is for active high. So first thing you need to understand which output is going to be active. That will always remain same by the definition which is in this particular slide. Whatever is the input binary word, the corresponding decimal equivalent, you find out that particular output is going to be active. Now whether that activity will be expressed by a high or a low will now be termed into active high and active low. If that output is going to be high when it is active, then it is active high. If it is going to be low when it is active, it will be active low. So the active high thing is something which we generally are very easily we are able to understand that it naturally or it automatically comes to our understanding that yes, the output is going to be active. Of course it is going to be high. So it and our thought process is like that. But the other way it can also be, when it is active the output can also be low. So that we will see in the next slide, but let us first look at the active high. So it is the usual or the easily understandable case where you are having, you see, if you are having the inputs as 0 0. So I am talking about this en, I am talking a bit later. Suppose when you are having input 0 0, which output is going to be active? Y0 is going to be active. Y0 is going to be active and it is going to be 1. Others, only one input is out, one output is going to be active. So the other outputs are going to be inactive. They will be low. Similarly, you check any combination 1 0, that means the output 2 is going to be active. Y2. Y2 is only 1, others are 0. So in decoder, the output table is very easy. Only one of the outputs is going to be 1, the other outputs are going to be low, or only one output is going to be active. Here it is 1, other outputs in this case is going to be 0. Now what does this, so I hope you understand the input output mapping, but one additional input we are seeing here, this is also something we are noticing for the first time in our combinational circuit design, and this is also having a very important role to play. This is the enable input. Enable input. So sometimes because we are using these decoders, whatever blocks we are using in a larger circuit many times, so it sometimes becomes important, or sometimes we require this particular block to not even be enabled, so not even be activated. So that particular thing is decided by this enable input. So when you keep this enable 0 here, no matter what the input combination you are giving, no matter what is coming here, none of the outputs is getting activated. You see all the outputs as 0. So this is a function of the enable pin, enable input. So when only when your enable is activated or enable is high, here enable is also active high. Okay, so whenever enable is activated, so this is the combination of inputs. When enable is activated, then the decoder will start working as it is supposed to work. That means it will look at what its input combination now is, what its input combination, it will start to look at that, and corresponding output will become activated. So that is what the table says, if you look at the table carefully. So with the help of the table, we can see that these are the equations of the outputs. The very simple equation, just the min term, right? So just the min term consisting of 3 inputs. Enable input one has to consider in this case. Enable input one has to consider. So sorry. So we have these 3 inputs, and y0 is forming one min term, y1 is forming another min term. In that way manner it is going on. So each of these y0, y1, y2, y3 are decided by these functions, which are simply some AND logic here in this case. Now we look into the active low binary decoder. What is changing here is the idea that whenever I refer to something as active, it will show me a low signal, and inactive will show me a high signal. So that shift in our interpretation happens. So when we need an output to be active, we need to produce a 0 output at that particular pin, and when it is an input side, so like here you see enable is also active low. So when we need to enable, we need to give a 0 at the input of the enable. So that is the situation here. So just notice the difference in the circuit between these two slides. When we have designated the outputs and inputs, whichever outputs and inputs we are designating as active low, the difference from active high is that we are simply putting a bubble at the exit of that particular signal. That is all we are doing. What does that mean? Other circuits remaining similar inside whatever circuit was there, this will remain similar as the active high circuit. We can keep it similar. So what will happen here? Active means I will generate a 1. Suppose my input side I am giving 0 0 1. So this will generate a 1 here, which was passing out uninterrupted before. This one was coming outside, but now this one will come outside as a 0, and now my job is done. This is what I needed actually. So I just put a bubble here. Bubble means like a NOT gate is there before letting the output out. And since these would have been all zeros for this particular combination, what we get at the output are all ones. At the input side, like enable is active low. So before, when I used to pass a 1 here, that 1 would straight away go into this enable inside as a 1. Now since the circuit remains same, I need a 1 here. Inside I still need a 1, but from outside I will give a 0. From outside I will give a 0 so that it becomes 1 and then it activates the circuit. So these active low and active high are the signals which I am looking at the outside. Internally some changes of course being made, but representation wise I can consider that the inside is the same as the active high, only I have put a bubble at the exit and entry of the active low signals. That is all I will do as representation purpose. Circuit wise it will change, you will notice when I write down this thing. So so now you see, you read the circuit. What I have given here also, you notice that at the input side the active low signals are written with a bar on the top, that means we are basically writing the complement of that signal referring to this block diagram we have made. So this truth table is in reference to this block diagram. These are to be read together. Okay, these two are to be read together. So when we read this together, y0, y1, y2, y3 are these signals which are inside the block. What we are writing here are the complements of them, because we understand that when I come outside I am doing a complement and then coming outside. I am doing a NOT operation and then coming outside. And since it is active low, I know what I need to get when I come at the outside. That is always known to me. What I need to see at the output pin, that is known to me. So that is what I write down. So at the output, these come as y bars. So those y bars I am writing down here. At the output, this en is as a en bar. So that en bar I will know what I need to give to en bar when I am having an active low configuration. So that en bar I am writing down. So now you read. So when my enable is low, then my circuit is getting activated, but that activity is getting shown at the output in this way, that when it is 0 0, my y0 bar is low. So that pin which is corresponding to y0 is denoting, or the output 0 is denoting a 0 here, not a 1 anymore. So similarly you can read for 0 1 we are getting y1 bar as 0, and likewise for all these, and the others are all ones. Now you can write down the POS form. So you can write down the max term, basically this y0 etc. you can write down in the form of the max term, because the output is 0. You can write down in form of the max term. So what would be the max term of y0 bar? Y0 bar, please remember we are writing for y0 bar. So it would be en bar, since en bar is directly 0, x1 x0, en bar plus x1 plus x0. Y1 bar is again en bar is common always, x1 plus x0 bar, x0 complement, x0 dashed. Y2 is en bar plus x1 dashed plus x0. y3 bar is en bar plus x1 dashed plus x0 dashed. Now this thing can be easily implemented using a NAND gate. You now see that this can be easily implemented. Look at the expressions. This is simply a NAND operation between the three input signals. Enable x1 and x0 in different combinations. Of course, x1 and x0 also have their complements involved, but ultimately your outputs, these output at the output side, these output side signals can be directly implemented using a NAND gate. So internal structure is actually changing. Representation wise, it seems that like the active high only have a bubble at the outside. Representation wise, that is fine, but actual circuit wise it is changing. Actual circuit wise, in the active high you would have some different circuit. If so, this is like, if you can actually you can represent with NAND gate, but here the representation is very direct using NAND gate. Okay, so in the other one, the AND gate would be very useful, very easy to implement, or maybe the NOR gate. So here the NAND gate is very easy to implement, and since we know that we wish to have, since NAND gates are the universal gates and very easily available also, so so we wish to implement these decoders in this NAND gate manner, and that is one of the reasons why we choose the active low configuration over the active high configuration. So here we are taking active, so this is the active low configuration of the binary decoder. So unless otherwise specified, you should think that your signals are active high. Unless otherwise specified, you should consider by default that the signals are active high. But if it is specified as active low, then you have to take care and design your circuit, like you have to design your truth table very carefully. All the signals which are termed as active low, you should write a bar and you should evaluate for that bar expression only, and then whatever is coming out, that you are implementing, and that you can implement, and the block diagram that you draw for this particular implementation must also look in this manner. So whichever outputs or whichever signals are active low, you write without complement inside the block and put a bubble just outside it. So that is the way to deal with active low configurations. Now we come to so these are the 2x4 decoder. We can easily extend the idea to any number. So let us just look at the truth table of a 3x8 decoder. Same thing, you are looking at the block diagram. You see there are now 8 number of inputs from y0 to y7, and these are all active low we are considering in this case. And so you look at the truth table and you can understand why the truth table is like this. So this is the active low truth table of a 3x8 decoder. Now that this 3x8 decoder can of course be easily implemented using all these NAND gate configurations, but this can also be implemented using lower order decoders. So again, that idea of using lower order circuits to form higher order circuits come into picture. So we can use 2x4 decoders to form 3x8 decoders. How many such decoders we need? We need 2 numbers, and this is the configuration. So you note the configuration. What we actually have done, we have fed the enable input using the A signal. Which is the A signal? There are 3 inputs A, B, C. A forms the MSB of the binary word. That MSB, which is A, is fed to the inputs is fed to the inputs En, and the inputs here are active low. In this case, you can take a configuration where it is active high. It doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter in the sense you should figure out how to readjust the circuit. In that case, there is some readjustment, of course, to be done. Now, how to read the circuit? You see, when you have your input A, so A, B, C, right? So the first four combinations are having A as 0, last four combinations are having A as 1, and here whatever this block is from 00 to 11, this same block is repeating here. I hope you understand this. So now what happens when A is 0, you see that this decoder is activated, this decoder is not activated, correct? Because here it comes as a 1, so this decoder is not activated. So your outputs here are, this is a 2 cross 4, so y0 to y3, again y0 to y3, but as a 3 cross 8 you are getting here. So let me represent the outputs as something else, x, y, maybe z. Z0 bar you are getting here, Z3 bar. Now this is Z4 bar and ultimately Z7 bar. So when your this is activated, then you have, depending on your BC, so this BC is going into X1 and X0. Depending on your BC, one of these input pins are getting active low. Now when you come to the last four combination, then since A will always be 1 in the last four combinations, this decoder, the first decoder will remain inactivated and the last decoder will get activated, and you will have your pins from this Z4 to Z7 bar getting activated. So whichever pin is required to be activated, that will become activated, because B is supplied to X1 and C is supplied to X0. This is very important where you are plugging in the signals. So you should not reverse this configuration. So like if you give C here and B here, that is going to be absolutely wrong. So depending on where your X1 and X0 is inside this block, you should connect your BC accordingly. Okay, and I will just give you a word of warning here. There is a lot of different permutation and combination with the signals you can try, but that will make things complex. So don't try to do that. Try to keep things simple. Put the MSB of the binary word to the enable input. Put the MSB of the binary word to the enable input, and then you try to see where the other inputs have to be put in order to implement a higher order decoder using lower order decoder. Okay. So now the next is a BCD to 7 segment decoder. So these are like the LED lights you have seen in a lot of places. So these are called the 7 segment decoder. Now what is this? This is basically you are trying to light up a digit which is giving you a decimal, which is showing you a number which is the decimal value, and normally this particular configuration you are seeing at the right, that is how the LEDs are named A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So and DP is at the decimal point. If sometimes it is used, for our case we will not use this. So we are having A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all these 7 segments. These are the 7 segments. 7 segments to be activated depending on what is the input combination. So input combination, the input binary word is coming. What should be the number of inputs? Of course, the number of inputs have to be 4 because we are going from digits 0 to 9. So you have to have up to 1001. So when we are having such a situation, we have 4 inputs, 4 digital inputs and 7 digital outputs. These LEDs will be activated. That means a activation signal will come either high or low. Here we are considering, let us consider active high in this case. So this is the truth table that we will form. Now how to fill up the truth table? It is very easy to fill up the truth table if you know how the digits are shown in the 7 segment decoder. Now before we go ahead in this, we can actually think about those combinations which will not result in any digit. Which are those combinations? All those 6 combinations from 1010 to 1111. So these are the combinations which actually give a decimal equivalent 10 to 15. These combinations, so all these combinations after 1001, these combinations are not supposed to glow any of the LEDs, right? So what will happen? For any such input coming in, my output will be all zeros. All zeros. Please remember this, they will not be don't cares. The outputs will not be don't cares. They have to be 0. If you have these inputs which are from, if you have these inputs which are from 10 to 15, which are like decimal equivalent is 10 to 15, we must not glow any of the output LEDs. So the output must be all zeros. Now let us see what the inputs will be for the other cases. Okay. So since we are using active high, I will only point out those particular LEDs which will be activated. So for combination 0000, I know that I should glow up a 0 digit, and to glow up the 0 digit, you see, if you know, you will know that G must not be activated, all the others will be activated. That means G will be 0, others will be 1. Okay, so all these will be 1, G will be 0. When I have 1, so 0001, I will have 1, and then my B and C is going to be activated, others will be 0. Others I am not writing down here. So it's for you to fill up. When we have 0010, then 2 comes like this, 2 comes like this. So A, B, G, E, D will be activated. A, B, G, G, D, E. So these are activated. Then for 3, you will have F and E will not be activated, others will be activated. So F and E will be 0, others will be all active. For 4, your F, G, B, C, F, G, B, C will be active. So in this way, I think, I guess you will be able to fill up the rest of the rows as well. So the rest of the rows one can fill up, and then one has to make the circuit. So that circuit one can make using K-map reduction or McCluskey or whatever method you want to deploy. So you first reduce the expression and then you make the circuit. So that is the thing. And you can also see that sometimes it is useful to make the K-map for the zeros rather than the ones. Sometimes it is useful. So you have to take a decision. It might be so that zeros are very few, so it might lead to a simpler circuit. It might be the other way around. So it will only be apparent when you fill up all these rows, and then you can go ahead with forming a circuit. Any circuit you can form, but reduce the expression first, then you form the circuit. So you should also do the implementation very clearly, form these expressions, and then implement the circuit. This is for your own practice. You can, if you practice this, there will be a lot of practice for you to solve. You will be solving 7 K maps or 7 McCluskey method. So that will be a lot of practice for you. You will have so many inputs and so many outputs to be drawn together. So a practice for drawing a neat circuit will also be there when you do this exercise. Okay, so you do this exercise, and then and it will be a very good practice for you actually. So the last slide here is the binary encoder. So we have studied the decoder. Encoder is just the opposite. In decoder there were the binary inputs coming, and we are getting the one of the outputs, which is the decimal equivalent of that binary word, was getting activated. Now it is the opposite. At the input side we will have 2 to the power of n number of input pins. Input side we will have 2 to the power of n number of input pins, and at the output side we will have n number of output pins, and whichever input pin is getting activated, that corresponding to that a binary word will be generated at the output. So this is the idea. So if I3 is getting activated, then I will have here 0 1 1. So 0 1 1 should come out, it should come out. Okay, so your A2 bar, A1 bar and A0 bar should be 0 1 1. These are low, active low outputs, you see. So this is the idea. Now what there is a problem here, there is a trick, there is a tricky thing here, that you cannot guarantee, right? You cannot guarantee that only one of the input pins is getting activated. These are all connected to some other circuitry, so something can come on the other signals also. Then how to what to represent at the output side? So in this case there is a concept called priority encoder. Priority encoder will only show the largest pin. So suppose here I5 is also activated, then instead of showing 0 1 1 here, it will show 1 0 1 here. Whichever is the highest will get the priority. Suppose along with all these things I7 is also getting activated, then it will show 0, it will show, this is sorry, I am writing wrongly actually. So in case of 3, it should have given 1 0 0 at the output because active low, right? In case of 5 it should have given 0 1 0 because of active low, and in case of 7 it would give 0 0 0 at the output, and you see it is evident from the truth table now. So for the case that enable is 1, it is not activated, the entire circuit is not activated. So you forget about the first row. Whatever is the combination, you are always having none of the outputs is activated. When enable is active, then you look, whenever I7 is active, I7 bar. So whenever you are getting a low signal at the input side of I7, then no matter what other other signals are coming, no matter what signals are coming in the other inputs, your output will be 0 0 0. Now for I6 to reflect itself at the output, I7 must be 1, and then no matter what I5 to I0 are, I6 will get reflected as 0 0 1. I6 normally is 1 1 0, right? But since it is active low, it is 0 0 1. So similarly for I5 to express itself, I6 and I7, this should be inactive. So and it would be 0 1 0, and in this way you can read for the rest of the truth table. You can read. Now I have these two additional signals, GS and E0. What are these? GS is called group select and E0 is called enable output. These are useful signals in priority encoder. Group select will be activated whenever any of the input is receiving a activation signal. Whenever any of the inputs is receiving an activation signal, GS, this group select pin will become activated. That means GS bar at the output of this pin, you will see a 0 whenever any of these pins is getting activated. So you see in all these rows till the last one. So in the last one, none of the input pins is activated, only enable is activated, but enable is not the actually these I inputs. So none of these I inputs is activated, so the GS bar is 1. It is also inactive. Okay, that means in this particular decoder we are not receiving any activation signal. GS indicates that. So if we see that in a particular encoder, my GS signal is activated, that will signify that one of its input is activated. One of its input is activated. You look at enable output, it is simply the opposite. Whenever enable output is getting activated when none of the inputs are active. That means I am allowing an activation signal to pass from this enable output. Why these are important? These are important when you are cascading the encoders. So when you are cascading the encoders, it is important to also know the status or state of each encoder that you are cascading. So suppose I am suppose this is a lower encoder and there is a higher encoder. Like higher encoder means I8 to I15 is encoded there, and if we have a signal coming here, it will give me a GS signal will get activated, and in the other encoder also there can be another input. So if we see so at the output we'll have these outputs, we will also check, and the other encoder's output will also check, and we will take that encoder's output because it's a priority encoder. But this GS becoming high will indicate that some activation had happened in this encoder also. And if this GS is not activated but this EO is activated, that will mean that no activation is happening in this particular encoder. No activation from the input side is happening in this particular encoder. So these GS and EO signals are required in order to interpret large circuits, the behavior of large circuits when you have several such encoders in cascade. So those complicated circuits we are not going to not going to study in our course, but the basic idea of the encoder, the priority encoder, is what you should study, you should know, and that is where that is what is in the purview of this course. So that is all. Thanks for being with me, and thanks for your attention.